Alright guys, welcome to part 2 of this video where we're just going to be building our component finally. As we decided we're going to be making that toast component, so we're going to just be doing some of the stuff in the Figma and then going ahead and building it in the code and then just watching it update as we build it, right? The first thing I want to do is just pull in my imports. So as I said, I built it before, so I already know the imports I'm going to need. So I'm just going to grab those imports and copy and paste them into the code. Okay, so I got my imports. These are just imports from the design system that I know that we're going to need. So like colors, just from like the tokens. So we got colors, spacing, effects, typography, things that are going to be needed in this component. So we just want to import those. Sometimes you don't know beforehand, but you might call something and then just add the import afterwards when you try to call it. What do we have? Our properties. So we have our properties, our parameters for the constructor, initialized over here. And then we're going to be working on the build method next. Okay. First thing, we just want to start building the build method with the theme and extensions, right? Theme gives base text theme slots. We tweak with tokens, size heights, and then also context.component is the design system's color extension, meaning these themes and extensions help us to switch between light mode and dark mode. So I'm going to grab some of that code and then we're going to go through it together to show you what I mean by that. Okay. If you pay attention, this is the code. We have just a variable theme, which holds the theme dot of context, which pretty much just helps us switch between light mode and dark mode. We call it the theme. And then we also store the component, which is the context of the component. Sounds confusing, but pretty much it just helps us to switch between light mode and dark mode. And what are we switching between light mode and dark mode? The surface color, the border color, and the icon color. This will make a little bit more sense if we look at the component. So right now we're looking at the component in its light mode phase, right? But this component, when you switch to dark mode, should also now be able to turn into a component that, is applicable for dark mode. So that's how it would look in dark mode. For example, let's do a different one. So let's do success. This is how it looks like in light mode. But if we switch to dark mode, it should look a little bit different. As you can see, right? That's how it's supposed to look. So instead of writing the code twice, we're just going to create a switch case. It's the same variable name. It's the same component. It's the same surface color, same border color, same icon color, but just two different colors when it's in dark mode and light mode. And this component right here, right? This theme of context, it's aware of which theme the app is in. So when the app is in light mode, it's going to call the light mode version of the colors. When that theme is in dark mode, it's going to call the dark mode version of the colors. So we just have to create some if statements or conditional switch cases for it to be to know which one to call for light mode and which one to call for dark mode. So that's all we're going to be doing here. I'm going to grab the code and then we're going to go through it a little bit. So pretty much, as I was talking about, these are the variant colors, and it's just a switch case where we are looking at the status, right? And we're pretty much looking at the status that we're in. We know that the status comes from the enums, right? So if we go to enums, we have error, success, warning, info, link, and note, right? So we got our enums, and then we go back here, and when the variable is the status, we kind of now switch, right? So if the status is error, we then call the surface, right, color, and then we call the toast surface error. For the border, we're going to call the toast border error, and then for the icon, we're going to call the toast icon error. Okay, I'm going to take it a little bit deeper just so you guys get a better understanding. Where do these variables come from, right? They come from component. what is component? If we go to the design system and we go to our tokens, so we're going a little bit lower, we go to our colors, then we can go to component specific colors, right? And this is where they come from. So these already exist in the design system. And pretty much these components have a light mode theme and they have the dark mode theme, right? So pretty much we have already guaranteed all the colors in the design system already. So whenever we call the icon era, right? This color is the era one for the light mode, and it has the exact same equivalent for it, icon color somewhere here, era, but for the dark mode. Okay, so that's what this file is for, and that's where we're getting them from. It's a very large file, but it's so we can account for the light mode and dark mode. So you don't have to worry about that because they're already there. But if Ethan updates colors, we would update them here because we reference those colors when we're building components. And this allows us to do this. So whenever we would call the toast surface era, right? If we're in light mode using this thing, depending on the theme, if we're in light mode, it's going to go look for this color and then call the light mode one. This is what allows us to do that. The theme dot context of, because it looks at the context of that specific variable. If we were in dark mode and we called success, it would go check the toast surface success for the dark mode and return the dark mode color. So that is just a little bit about that, but the status is just going to help us pick the right colors, right? So for note, this is its own colors, link own colors, info own colors, and those colors are already in our design system at the token level. So everything is pretty much connected the higher you go in the hierarchy. So let's work on the next part now. So now that we have our colors, the next part we wanted to bring in is the typography. This is just the variable for the title style. So as you remember in our component, we have the title, right? So this is just making sure that the title one looks like this by just going through the specific values for it, right? So if you look at title specific, like I'm going to click on this part, right? That the toast title, as you can see, it has specific sizes, body large, font size, body large, height, body large. So we're just creating the code over here for the title style, body large for the height, body large, and making sure that it's the correct weights for the fonts and the correct color as well, right? So color being the toast title text. And if you are struggling to like make the connection, you could easily ask your MCP to look at these and help you find these components in the design system so you call the right ones. But same thing for description style as well. This one uses the aesthetic line heights caption and font sizes caption. If you look at the Figma as well, for the description, you just click on the component, right? And then you can see, okay, what does it use? It uses caption, font size, line height, caption as well over there. So I just want to make sure everything is accurate. And then we just call the icon and we make it size 24 because that's what it is in the Figma as well. So if you click on this icon, you just go through it and then you can see that it is of size 24 here, width 24, height 24. And that's what we do over here by calling it size 24. Okay, so now that, we've written some code, I think it's time for us to like test and see how the stuff we have is going to look so far. So what I'm going to do is right now we're still just returning a container. I just grab some code which is going to return a constrained box, right? And then within that box, it's going to kind of have a max width of, I believe it was the same as here. The max width is going to be 389. I just added it to the tokens. 389 as the toast max width. The width is going to be double infinity. So it spreads out across. Padding, just 16. The color is going to be the surface color. Border color is going to be the border color that we have over here as our variable. So you see we're using those variables, and they should be theme aware, right? As well. Then radius 16, and then the shadows as well. And this is all just coming from here. I'm just referencing information from here. Border radius 16, padding 16, and we'll just, keep building it as we go. So let's just return this and see what it looks like so far. So now we're returning something. So if we refresh, we should see it run. Okay, so this is what we got so far. Nothing too crazy as of right now, but it's getting there. If we go to I just want to show you guys something quickly. If we go to the folder where we are calling this, right, the test page. So right now we're in let me make this less confusing. So we have the enums, the actual page, the SDEC toast, and the test page. So if we go to the test page, this is where we're calling it, right? So we said SDEC toast. So let's change it a bit so we can test if the other ones work. So let's change it to success, maybe. We'll change it to success. Oh, what we can do is just have all of them here, actually. Yeah. So we're going to call all of them success, warning, info, link, note. And then what we'll do is we'll add a gap, an error too, actually. Then we'll add a gap in between them a little bit. Small gap. Yep, gap. So all I've done is this one is going to say success as the status. Status here is going to error at warning, info, link, note. And then title, we got to give a title, error, warning, info, and then we got to give a description. So let's run it and see how it looks. Okay, so we're getting there a little bit. There's still some things missing. For example, the icon's not there, so we have to, keep working on the component to add the icon, to add the description at the bottom. Right now, it's only having the title, because over here we have not worked on the code for the description. So let's keep working on it. Okay. So I just went ahead and grabbed the rest of the code as we had it before. Now we added a column just to make sure that we can add more stuff, and within that column we have a row, and that row is expanded between the text, and then in between there's a sized box, and then there's also an icon button as well. And then there's also that gap that we have between the description text and the title text. This code will be here for your reference as well, but I just brought all of it, added some comments as well. All of it was actually just, following everything that's in here, using the Cursor MCP to help me figure out some stuff that I didn't know how to write, just to make sure that it matches exactly. But that's kind of how you just troubleshoot it, try to make it look like how it should look. But I added some comments here for you guys, so the title, so you guys can know where that's at. And then, the size box for the space in between the icon button, also on pressed, giving it that option to dismiss. That's what the undismiss is for. That we have there, so that when we do press it, that when the backend is wiring it to have a variable, so it can remove the icon, not the icon, the actual toast itself. And then let's give it a run and see how it comes along, and then we test it. So we refresh it, and as you can see, that pretty much does look like our component now, right? And the major thing is, if you now switch to dock mode, for me, it's Shift Command A, it should be theme aware. So you only make it once and it can switch between dark mode and light mode, right? And that's the whole point of making it theme aware. So what this does is that it gets the arrow colors for light mode, and then when you switch to dark mode, it gets the arrow colors for dark mode, right? Without you having to say, okay, light mode here, dark mode here. You just call this variable, and it's actually done. That's the code that you guys saw, all those lines for the components, all the light colors on one side, all the right colors on one side, under the same variable name. So when you call this variable name and you use theme of context, it then knows which one to choose depending on what status the app is in. So if the app is in dark mode, then we get this one. If the app is in light mode, then we get these ones. So that's a nice thing about using that. Then we have our constraint box that we return. And yeah, code is there for you guys. We also have our enums, which we made. We have our toast. This is the toast pretty much. So like if we had an update to the toast, had to fix something, we would fix it in here. Then the test page. The test page is where we kind of modify stuff, right? So success, error. Like over here, you can go ahead and change this to see how it would look if it maybe was a short text, right? So this one is going to show the green one differently, right? So you go refresh, and then you can see, okay, success one, we modify the text. And this is what the backend wants. We want to call the component, and then we'll manage wiring the different states with the providers and stuff. But as long as you guys give us the colors we need, so the different states, in terms of success that we can call, then we'll change this stuff to say what Firebase says, right? If there's an error in Firebase, then we'll add that description here based off of what we get from, Firebase or something like that. But that is pretty much it for component. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just, let me know. All the code will have been pushed. You guys can start to use this component too for your screens as well. All you got to do is just call the SDEC toast, and then, yeah, use it for whatever you need. So I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.